I'm Dr. Eric Williams. I'm Assistant Dean of Student, no, I'm Associate Dean now of Student Affairs at the University of South Carolina School of Medicine, Columbia. Thank you. Um, and as you can see, I'm African American. Um, I'm a child psychiatrist, of course, adult psychiatrist. I am a son. I have a partner. I'm gay. Um, Also a geek who plays D&D. I am also a fitness person. I teach group exercise classes at one of our local gyms. So a little of this, a little of that. I have always liked talking to people, and the intersection of that is I've always liked the brain. So one of the things I remember, somebody had to tell me I did this when I was a kid, but I was in elementary school and we had to do these science projects, and I did mine. I'm not kidding with this. I did mine on split brain patients with the corpus callosum. And
Okay.
I know
What grade was this?
this was sometime in elementary school.
Wow.
I just
Okay.
found it and thought that was fascinating. Of course, it didn't go too deep, but it was,
But you knew who you were.
it,
You're a psychiatrist.
enjoyed it.
Mhm.
But the people part, the talking, I'm a talker. Hopefully I'm a listener. But that's the part I like the most. That's why I like um, being a psychiatrist. So in ACAP, I've been the co-chair of the continuing medical education committee.
Okay.
I think for the last 5 years, but I've been on the committee. Oh gosh, probably since maybe 2004 or five.
Okay.
Maybe six, somewhere around there. Before I was the co-chair of the CME committee, I was co-chair of the residents, fellows, and medical students committee. And I think I did that for again 4 or 5 years.
Mhm.
I am involved in APA. So I first became involved in APA in 2003, I believe. I was an AstraZeneca minority fellow.
Okay.
And that fellowship is gone now. But that's how I really got my start into organized medicine.
How did
Um,
how did that help you? I was an APA and IMH fellow, and
okay,
I think that was similar for APA, right? Oh.
yes,
Mhm.
I can. Well, y'all had money, we didn't. Um, we just showed up. Um, I cannot imagine being in organized medicine without having been an AstraZeneca fellow.
Okay.
Uh,
What did
It
it teach you?
it from the very beginning, it taught me that there was organized medicine.
Okay.
So I joined APA in 1996 as a first year medical student because one of the psychiatrists at my school at Wake came down with a bunch of forms and said, "Is anybody interested in signing up for APA?" Well, I'm pretty sure I want to be a psychiatrist, so okay. And then I didn't do anything with it really. I hadn't even been to an annual meeting or anything like that until my first one in '03, and that was San Francisco. I remember that vividly. So went there, saw what meetings were all about. Um, well, first was on a committee,
Mhm.
and as we were put on through the AstraZeneca Fellowship,
Mhm.
and saw it, and I thought, like, wow, I'm, I'm just a resident, and they're asking my opinion on things. I get to help write position statements. After that meeting, I went home and called people and said, I just got to help write a position statement for APA. Can you believe that? And I'm a third-year resident. Um, and so just after that, I kept going. So we had a group of us that were in the fellowship at that time. We started doing presentations and did them at the annual meeting, and then got invited to some other meetings, and then kept going to this one and getting involved in other pieces. I found myself involved in the assembly, and then found myself as the chair of the ECPs in the assembly, and that it just snowballed from there.
Would
Um,
you recommend that students and residents look at joining and participating in organized medicine,
I would,
organized psychiatry?
hands down, I would say at least try it out.
Okay.
Um, It may or may not be for everybody. It was definitely for me. So
And I feel the same way. Yes.
I was like membership. I've been the chair of the membership committee, and currently I'm chair of the scientific program committee for the meeting in 2023. So this was when I was in residency, and our hospital is right across the street from the community mental health center, where we see kids. So I literally just walk across the street to the mental health center. And so I was on a rotation at the mental health center, and it was designed to last, I think, 2 months, maybe 3 months, and we'd be there once or twice a week. And so there was this African American kid. He was probably high single digits, 8 or 9 or something like that, and he'd come with his grandmother. So I've been working with him for a while, and we're getting to the end of the 3 months, and so she comes in, and I'm preparing to tell him and his grandmother that this is going to be one of our last times. And before I could get it out, the grandma says, "You know what? I am so glad we met you, and Jesus told me that you're going to be his doctor." I never told her I was quitting. I just asked if I could keep going just to see her. Well, Jesus told her I can't say no. So, but it's just the kind of the rapport that you get to build
Yeah.
with patients and their families. There are so many options. You can do anything in child psychiatry. You want to work in the school system? I guarantee you can work in the school system. You want to work inpatient? You can do it. If you want to work in a community mental health center, you can do it. If you want to work private, you can do it. If you want to do consult, you can do it. There's child psychiatrists are in such demand that in several places you could probably say, I want to do some of this, some of this, some of this. I've done that for several years. I've done inpatient, I've done outpatient, I've done a mix of things. And everywhere you're needed. So if something doesn't work well for you, I guarantee you can find something else. Someone is going to need the knowledge and the services that you can provide. Got a mentor, I think day one from residency. That it's someone that probably a lot of more established psychiatrists would know, Dr. Harry Wright.
Yeah.
Uh,
He's one of mine too. Yeah.
yeah. So he was here in Columbia, South Carolina, and he was my first supervisor. Um, and that is when I really got to see the value of mentorship, and again, a mentor who looks like me. Um, I There was another mentor I had here, Dr. Jerome Hanley. He is also passed, but I cannot tell you how much I learned from Dr. Hanley. And one of the biggest things I learned was you should always have a mentor.
Okay.
He was even after I graduated, I was calling him. I was like, Dr. Hanley, this is going on. What do you think I should do about this? He wasn't a child psychiatrist; he was a child psychologist,
Mhm.
but just wise.
So wisdom can come from other disciplines as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. That's helpful for everybody to know. So you still have people all the time, or
So,
serial mentorship.
there would be, and more than one in different things.
Mhm.
And the mentors also don't necessarily have to be someone older than you. I have learned you learn from everyone. Of course, you learn from your patients. At least you should. But I learned things from people who used to be my resident. We sometimes engage in what we call the supervision, kind of just bouncing things back and forth with some of my old residents, and we learn from each other. Before in medical school, there is, or at least there was. So I graduated in 2000, and so I got medical school in '96. And there was still, and I went to a PWI, Wake Forest. So there was still some of the, well, why is he here? Did he earn the spot here?
Mhm.
Um, Now I didn't care whether or not somebody else thought that. I was like, I knew good and well I earned my spot over there.
Mhm.
Um, but there was some of that, and there was some prejudice from patients sometimes. in the hospital. Uh, and that was both before. I can think of an instance of the third year. I can think of instances during, as in my internship year when I was doing my call in the ER. Um, and I'm sure there's still some afterwards. Not as big as those before, but some of the micros that you say. I mean, I still get called several times, Mr. Williams as opposed to Dr. Williams. Uh, am I gonna cry about it or get upset about it? Not really, because I'm still Dr. Williams no matter what you call me. Um, so there are some challenges, but it hasn't been anything that's not overcomable. That'll work.
That couldn't be overcome?
Thank you. Nothing that couldn't
Okay.
be overcome.
And you overcame them?
I'll try day to day. I'll go back to the mentors. One of the things with that is you, if if we're wise and listen to our mentors, there's some wheels that we don't have to reinvent, and uh, there's some heartache we don't have to experience
Mhm.
because someone can already tell us this has happened or this will happen. So to avoid this, do this. Thank you so much for letting me know because that's where that was headed. Um, I also have had support from first my fellow students, then my fellow residents, now my fellow colleagues. I have support from the organizations that I'm in. I have support from my coworkers now. I have support from actually the medical students here. I know this sounds trite, but making a difference.
Okay.
You actually can make a difference. Now I like more working with teenagers and young adults.
Uh-huh.
So they're that age where you can talk to them, they can understand stuff, you can reason, but they're not so set in their ways. They can still listen if you get a good rapport, and you can, work back and forth. What do you think of this? Or what do you think of this? And and you can see and hope that you're helping to get someone on a better path because they've got a long time ahead of them.
Yes.
And whether that's through therapy or medication or whatever, you just want to help make their lives better.
Yeah.
And you get to do that. You get to do that.
Yeah.
Not everybody has that opportunity. Um, everyone has important jobs and important things to do, but to help someone who's suffering, they don't know they're suffering,
Mhm.
and help them live a better life. That's what more can you ask for in a profession? Oh my gosh! So the I'm going to back up one step a little bit. So before I was associate dean of medical of student affairs at the university, I worked at the student health center on the main campus.
Okay.
And so I was there for 8 years, as a staff psychiatrist. And we're talking 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 year olds. And some we also have grad students. So we have some, uh, late 20s, every so often 30s or 40s.
Mhm.
But I remember one of my caseload supervisors, my psychotherapy caseload supervisor said, the child is the father of the man. Um, and I never forgot that. So knowing that child psych piece, because, well, for example, I asked, no matter how old someone is, I get an abuse history. Like, what was it like when you were a kid? Were you ever in foster care? And those are things that we just naturally do and naturally ask as child psychiatrists
Mhm.
that are going to shape the adults that our patients have become or will become. So having that background, um, of being able to look at the child piece or their childhood helps right now. Especially I think more with this generation, um, Gen Z-ish, where uh, there's it seems like there's a little more dependence on the adults in their lives right now.
Right. Having just come through COVID and all of that, you mean? Mhm.
Um, so we can talk about those relationships with, and I expect to talk about relationships with parents and what does that mean? And it should just these kinds of conversations are very natural after doing a child psychiatry. I'll say on the positive side. So I'm in Columbia, or and I guess more specifically Richland County. So and
Tell me what that means
it's
because I don't.
fair. You know,
Okay.
if we're we have a fairly large African American population in Richland County,
Okay.
slash Columbia. So there's no way that you're not going to run into someone that looks like me. We have a lot of African Americans, but still, when other African Americans see me come into the room, I know that the many times the interaction is just different. There's a I can let my guard down. I being the patient, I can talk the way I normally talk. I can act the way I normally act. And I know because I've shared some patients with some of my Caucasian colleagues.
Mhm.
The interactions and some of the information I get is just different. And that is nothing against my colleagues at all. They're fine, wonderful physicians and care about everybody. But it's just different when you see someone that you feel that you can identify with right off the bat. Not saying that that's necessarily always true for all things, but you come in, it's just some patients have just told me it's a relief. Okay, so one story I often think of is okay. So I went to undergrad, 95% sure I was going to do medicine. 100% sure I was going to do psychology. Um,
Okay.
so there's no question about that. That was my major. And so I took a class called social psychology and just fell in love with that. I thought it was the neatest, most fun class in the world. So I was talking to my social psychology professor and said, what do I have to do to become a social psychologist? And this I'm still all on the pre-med track. I'm still doing the biology and chemistry and physics and all of that stuff, but that class just grabbed me. And he said, well, you would need to get a PhD and do a dissertation. Like, you mean that big long book you all right? Yes. I'm out. I'll go to med school. That was the end. That school will be easier than that. Med school it is.